Okay, I want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. It really does mean a lot. So, how did you first fall in love with theatre and the arts?
Oh my gosh, it was love at first sight. I was always a very theatrical
Mhm.
kid, even though I did sports and stuff. And I think I was like 11 in the living room, and I pretended to faint dramatically on the ground. And then I got up and I was like, Mom, sign me up for acting classes. And the rest is history. I grew
Yeah.
up in a very rural part of America. I grew up in, it's called Iowa.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
You're familiar.
Yes.
And it's weirdly, my town, despite being small, was like big in theater. So I
hmm
grew up doing a lot of like local community theater productions on top of
Mm.
school, and it was just like my favorite.
Yeah, and how did you go from sort of that then to writing and creating your own pieces of work?
Yeah, that didn't come until later, I would say. I've always loved improv and like sketch
Mhm.
comedy. My first sketch comedy group, I was 13, called the Laugh-Leets.
Okay.
Um, and I loved musicals and stuff. So
Mm.
probably wasn't until like later after college when I started performing sketch comedy like at Second City, I wrote there. But Lizzie Sunshine is actually my first like full play I've ever written like a big script for that's not just like a screenplay or sketch comedy.
Yeah, and so before we go into what the show's about, I have to mention the iconic promo outfit. Um, w w where did that come from? How did that come to be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the promo outfit. So I know I feel a little bit guilty because I'm not going to wear that in the actual show because I would have to literally pay for another ticket to Scotland for it
hmm
to sit in the chair. Um, so no, the background with that, my friend Wendy is like my stylist, which
hmm
makes me feel very like hoity-toity to say stylist, but mostly she wants to be a professional stylist and she has a lot of connections and she found a designer. I told her about my show. She found this designer. It was a New York Fashion Week runway designer named Pippa something. I need to look it up. But Pippa designed that, and my stylist Wendy just rented it so that I could do that promo shoot. And it was just I borrowed it from the designer for
Hmm.
the promotional shoot. Honestly, when I first tried it, I didn't even know it was going to be for my poster. I just did it for this photo shoot because I do
Yeah.
photo shoots occasionally. And so then I did that, and I was like, that has to be the poster. It has to. And the umbrella that I
Mhm.
have in the picture, that is actually a real umbrella that I use in the
Oh
show
wow.
that I've had for years. So that
Yeah.
is part of the show. The dress is
Hmm.
just for the vibes.
So you mentioned the show, but what is it about? What is Sunshine Lizzie about?
Yeah, Lizzie Sunshine is about a girl, a character whose name is Lizzie Sunshine, and she's here to do a two-person show with her brother. And
Mhm.
so Lizzie, that actually is a two-person double act show that's written that way. She's done it a bunch before, and she shows up, and the show starts. Ta-da! And enter brother, and he doesn't show up. So
Hmm.
she has to kind of scramble in real time and make it look easy, cover the whole show on her own.
Ah.
Yeah, so she's a very theatrical, like she has a very childlike energy, and to
Mhm.
her, it's a great, exciting challenge. Like, okay, yeah, I can do it, no problem. But
Hmm.
you see her on the stage, with the audience because it's set at Fringe, it's set at whatever theater I'm performing at.
Yeah.
So you see
Ah.
her on stage and then go into her dressing room off stage where she kind of gives herself a pep talk before going back out where the audience can see
Hmm.
her.
Where did that idea come from? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it was a weird birth. I actually like had the thought of doing this character and this show before I thought of the double act
Hmm.
alone thing. So I knew I wanted to write a show that was metaphorical about how it feels to be a close loved one, in my case, younger sister of someone with addiction problems.
hmm
So my brother has struggled with addiction for a lot of my life since I was like 11 years old or so. And it's not my story, addiction necessarily, but I grew up so close to
Yeah.
it. And it is, this part of it anyway, is my story. So when I was writing this character and Lizzie, and she's so on, the more I was writing and uncovering and doing bits, it's like, but it's a bit false.
Hmm.
This character, Lizzie Sunshine, is a bit of a mask that I wear. And so I wrote this show, and it has a very surprise ending where
hmm
essentially every single show, the mask comes off, and
Uh,
every show
huh.
celebrates Lizzie, but also she gets to kind of retire by the
Yeah.
end of it and accept the truth or whatever.
Yeah. You said obviously it's based on sort of based loosely on real events and sort of the inspiration comes from your own family. Did you feel quite vulnerable having to put that to pen and put that to stage?
Girl, yeah. Are you joking? At first, I didn't feel that vulnerable because I live in New York City now and my family doesn't. And my family's really supportive and they
Mhm.
know I'm a lunatic and yada yada. It wasn't it wasn't until I actually went the third time I ever did this show. I went back to my hometown community theater where I grew up. And I did it there. And I was like, that's going to be perfect. It'll be really special. And it was, but it was also so, I didn't, excuse me, I didn't consider how difficult that was going to
Mm,
be because Lizzie Sunshine, like I said, the character is me. It's a mask. It's like this version of me that was essentially all people knew of me when I was a
mm,
kid. So now to come back to my hometown as an adult and be like, "Hey, here's the truth and here's this like funny, vulnerable show that I wrote" was
mm.
really cool and people enjoyed it and it made my dad definitely uncomfortable. We like had a bit of a come to Jesus moment where he was like, "What are you doing with this? You're telling our business." Um, and I actually, that version of the show, like, took my brother's name out of it and, like,
Mm,
made it very general. And it just sounded kind of like, oh, Liz picked a hot button issue for no reason, which was embarrassing, I guess. But obviously, now,
mm,
especially with my family and even my brother being on board, we've come to kind of celebrate this as the story from the other side of the people
mm,
who are living closely and feel like they have to be the support system and the cheerleaders
mm.
for those suffering.
You obviously you know you obviously we'll cut this if it's too personal, but you said your brother is in support of the show.
Yes.
What was that getting approval from him like? What was getting the stamp from him?
Yeah, my brother is very funny. That's like the
Mhm.
big part of the show. He is funnier than I am. He just didn't turn it into his whole career.
Mm.
And so when he first saw the show, he came up to me afterwards and he was like, "Well, you could have roasted me more. Like you could have been meaner." So he has a good attitude
Mm.
about it. And, because the show, it isn't making fun of him. If anything, it's just hoping that he's gets sober
Yeah,
and that he's okay.
hopefully.
So, yeah, it was a good stamp of approval from
Oh,
him.
amazing. You said obviously coming up with the idea and writing it down. So what was the actual building of the show like? They're putting it onto stage and sort of blocking it like.
Yeah, so that happened all kind of by myself, which is interesting. I didn't bring on a director until later on in the game. So I wrote the show with the kind of different parts I knew I wanted to include,
Mhm.
and then I started just doing it in front of the mirror again, like a
Oh,
lunatic.
yeah.
My apartment building has like a little gym in the basement that no one uses, and it has a big mirror wall.
Mhm.
And so I've become the person in our building who just is in that room talking to herself. So that's basically how I started putting it together. And then the more I would talk, like I knew I wanted to do this bit where I dress up as my dad and I FaceTime myself in because
Mm.
I do a character as
Yeah.
my dad. So I was like, oh, that's in there. And I knew I wanted to do this bit where I dress up like a Greek Orthodox priest and do like a clowning. But I knew, of
Yeah,
course, you have to have that.
obviously.
Obviously, and that was a given. So I was like, okay, I know that's in there for sure because I've done that before.
Mm.
And I knew, it was one of
Yeah.
those. So it was just kind of a cobbling of it together. And it
Mm.
has been in the last 6 months with my director now that I feel like the show finally follows more like a play
Hmm.
format and less like a comedy show with lots of little bits. Now it's more of a play.
Yeah, totally. And obviously, you mentioned sort of your improv upbringing, and obviously that the style of creation that you did sounds a lot like improv of how do I get from point A to point B. Do you think that your experiences earlier sort of helped you put the show together?
100%. My experiences as a kid shaped this entire show.
Mhm.
This show seriously feels like I went back to my childhood bedroom, knocked on the door, there was my 11-year-old self. And I said, "What
Mm.
are you doing in here? Come with me." Brought her into my room, into my life, and we made this show together.
Mm.
And that little kid loves making stuff up, loves, like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put on a dance for all of my cousins at the Christmas dinner. Like,
We've
so
all
it
been there.
totally shaped. Yeah, right? Everyone has that. I love that. Yeah, so I think that's what shaped it. And I love improv. Also, and this is a weird thing to say, I think improv is easier than memorizing lines. I've
Mm.
always liked it more. So
Oh, okay.
and I love crowd work and stuff. So the best part of this show is that it allows for crowd work. Like
Mhm.
it allows for improv, and there's one chunk of the show about three-fourths of the way through when my show partner is going to be here in like 5 minutes, so we have to stall, and I get
Mm.
an audience member up on stage with me, and we
Ah,
do some improv.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the was the plan always for it to be a one woman, two person play?
The plan was always for it to be a one-woman play.
Mhm.
It was. I don't know. And now you know how it gets muddy.
Yeah.
I like the very, very first idea I had of it. I don't think it started out as a two-person show. I think it started out as just like the Lizzie show, and maybe
Mhm.
it was always about false positivity.
Mhm.
That part
Yeah.
is true. It was
Okay.
always about like toxic positivity and like being this kind of falsely never sad, happy, happy, chappy. And then like originally I was like, oh, maybe she's a motivational speaker talking about addiction stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, that's brilliant, Liz, right? So it became clear it needed to be a two-person show so that I didn't have to talk
Mm.
about the absence of him. You would feel it.
Mm,
And
totally.
that's what I think has carried this show
Yeah.
into being more of like a play, is that you feel his absence.
Hmm. And that sort of being the only person on stage, has that added pressure to each performance?
No, I love it. No, I will say it does feel kind of like cringy or like
Mhm.
embarrassing at times. I was like, really, Liz? Like, oh, you had to write a little one-person show about your feelings. Wow. You went to therapy and had to write down your feelings. But no, I like this show
Mhm.
because it's not supposed to be a one-woman show. It is, but it's not supposed to
Yeah.
be.
Okay.
And it is a lot of work or like a lot of pressure and high energy as the performer because it's a very physical show. It's
Hmm.
very like just chaotic. Like
Yeah.
I'm never standing in one place. That's not a handheld microphone situation. It's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah, and you talked about bringing the director on. What was that sort of integration of their ideas to your ideas like?
I love that question. The director process was fabulous.
Hmm.
So I did this show for the first time, a really short little version of it at a
Hmm.
festival. And this girl who I didn't know saw it on accident because she happened to be in the festival time slot. She messaged me, "Hey, I want you to know, I don't know you, but I loved your show. I think it's very
Wow.
special, yada, yada." And I was like, "Oh, so flattered." Fast forward almost a year later, I needed a director. I needed someone else. Come to find out, not only is this girl brilliant, talented, has a certificate in directing from the Yale School of Drama,
Wow.
but she's interested in taking on my project and going to Scotland with me.
Wow.
And isn't that crazy? So
Yeah.
that's how it happened that she came to even, it
Hmm.
wasn't like I put out a listing. It was she had already seen the earliest versions of my show and believed in it.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so that was so cool to bring her on. It was so humbling because,
Hmm.
you know, up until then it's been mostly me in a room. So now it's me and McKenna in a room. And I sent her the script and she was like, "Oh, okay, so this is not a professional script format, baby girl. This is a weird document that you made." And I was like, "Yep." So, and she had the script software. So, most of the best way I would describe bringing on a director has been it's made this entire show and production feel more professional.
Hmm. Oh.
It feels more polished. The script is polished. The tech cues, everything has it has stepped up to now I feel like this really could be a
Hmm.
Broadway or off-Broadway show.
Yeah, wow. And obviously, as you said, it's based on real life. So were there points where there was maybe, I'm not saying tension, but sort of this is how it happens, this is how it should be put to stage?
Um, Can you ask that question
Oh yeah,
again?
sorry. So
Yeah.
obviously
Okay.
with the director and the story being of your life,
Oh,
were
yes,
there
yes.
points where you went, well, this is how it happened, and there was sort of that contrast of, well, this is how it should be put to stage?
Yes, thank you. That makes sense.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there's definitely been some conversation because
Hmm.
this is based on my life,
Hmm.
but the plot of the story is all very metaphorical.
Okay.
Like there was never a day where George and I did a vaudevillian double act show that he
What?
didn't come
Really?
contrary to popular belief. So, but the things that did differ a little bit. So, McKenna was like, "Oh, I think that I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
specific like there are things I put in there that are just true of my experience." And she's like, "Huh, why does it have a reference to the musical Rent here?" And I'm like, "Because I love the musical
It
Rent."
just does.
Yes, it does. Because I love the true meaning of
Yes.
friendship in the 90s. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, there were some moments where she would say, mostly it was less about it being true to my life, but she wanted to protect my feelings
Yes.
because this really is like my story and how I feel. And she just always wants to make sure I, Liz, am like emotionally and energetically okay that we're
Mhm.
talking about this subject matter. But I will say, in doing the show and kind of processing it, I feel like I've been able to put myself in a little like yellow hot air balloon of
Mm.
comfort that looks over Lizzie Sunshine and these parts of me, and
Yeah.
I can see them without having to like re-traumatize
Mm.
myself by feeling them. So we take good care of
Mm.
the character and of me as the performer
Yeah.
to make sure I don't get like super sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the obviously we're here because it is heading to the Edinburgh Fringe, which congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
so what made you want to put the bid in to apply to be in the Edinburgh Fringe?
Yes, I always had it in my mind. I was like, I woke up out of bed one day and was like, I'm gonna write a one-woman show and it's gonna go to Fringe. Uh, I've never been to Fringe. I have
Well,
no real reason to think that. I really just it came about because my friend and the earliest mentor for me for Lizzie Sunshine is
mhm.
this guy named Tim Murray. And he was a fringe darling a few years back with his show, Tim Murray is Witches. He won like best musical show.
Oh.
He does a show essentially in like defying gravity drag, like he's Elphaba. And he's so funny and like a master of crowd work and such a good soul.
Mhm.
And he was the first person to sit with me at a coffee shop and talk about Lizzie Sunshine, the idea. And he did Fringe and he really recommended he recommended it. Mostly I think I told him I want to go and he said, "Okay, I'll help
Yeah.
you."
Read them
Um
there.
yeah.
Yes.
So that's how it started. It was just like, I'm gonna
Wow.
try. And then I asked for advice and then I submitted it everywhere. This whole
Hmm.
thing has really just been me being like, here I am. Can I come? Can I do this?
And so obviously putting the bid in and actually getting the acceptance call or email, I don't know how it works. I've not yet put a show on the Fringe. So what was it like getting that message of going, yeah, you are actually coming?
Oh my gosh, I peed my pants. Peed them right and good. No, it was so exciting because I will say I submitted to a bunch. I
Hmm.
cast a wide net because I didn't know what I didn't know. And
Hmm.
I had gotten a few other offers that were either like re a lot more expensive or at a venue I hadn't heard as
Yeah.
things about. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But I was feeling like, and I was in London in January and I met a friend there who was like, don't do that venue. And I was like, why not? Like, I felt very at a loss.
Hmm.
And I was debating just doing like free fringe or like bailing entirely. And then I got the email from Gilded Balloon, which I had known people
Hmm.
talked about Gilded Balloon being like one of the big ones. And I was like, yes, I'm going to Gilded Balloon. And I liked that it was pink and I liked
Hmm.
that it's women owned and run. And it just
I
seems
see.
like a perfect fit.
Yeah. And then obviously having to actually get ready for the the Fringe just seems like a whole different story.
Oh my gosh, it is a whole different story. Every day, I have
Hmm.
a new slew of emails of tasks that
Yeah.
I didn't know I had to do. The whole process, because I haven't done it before, it feels like you have a huge assignment, like you have a
Hmm.
final exam coming up in your class, but no one will tell you what the homework is or
Yes,
what's on the
yeah.
test, and you just have to like Google it and like hope for the best. Um, so not stressful at all, but I would say overall it has been
Mm.
expensive.
Hmm.
I'm excited, but like anxious because like, what
Okay.
if I forget my,
Yeah.
props or I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it also gives me a little bit of like, I hope it's good enough. It gives me a
Mm.
little bit of imposter
Also,
syndrome because
yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh, what if I get there and I think that I'm, have a good show and then it's like it bombs and no
Yeah.
one in the UK laughs at anything because I'm too American.
Do you think there's added pressure because you are from America for the British audience? Do you think, are you a bit worried about the clash of cultures?
Oh my God, you tell me. Should I be worried?
I don't think so at all. But I know lots of people who are traveling for the Fringe do have that like it's a totally new place, it's a totally new country, city, everything. Is that sort
Yeah.
of playing in your mind a little bit?
A little bit.
Mhm.
I've spent enough. I have family in Greece, so like we
Okay.
have a little bit. I have spent, not that that's at all similar, but I have spent time in the UK.
Mhm.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like I've been around non-American
Yeah.
people. I know the vibe not being totally the same,
Mhm.
and I've flagged parts of my show that I know are like US specific jokes. For example, there's one joke in my show about a specific fast food restaurant here that you don't have
Yeah.
there. So I'm not gonna include that joke. Or like I have a joke or a line, whatever, about the Super Bowl, and I'm gonna change it to the World Cup. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm.
And I'm also giving myself the leeway that once I go there and I, hear things mentioned, maybe I'll add some
Mm.
stuff or tweak it to be better. But overall, I think the universal theme of this show will resonate just
Okay.
fine
Mhm.
with the UK audiences. It's very physical,
Yeah.
honestly, which is always good, cross-culturally. And I've been having a lot of luck. I've emailed a lot of community organizations in Edinburgh that are specifically around family support of addicts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've reached out to like maybe 4 or 5 community groups to offer them like free tickets and access to my show. And so far they've all responded.
Oh,
So I think it'll
amazing.
be a nice community
Mm.
thing.
And so from sort of professionally to personally, how are you getting ready to take that trip to Edinburgh?
Gosh, man, I'm trying to like moisturize. I'm trying to sleep, but that's been tough because I just did a run of shows at Soho Playhouse here in New
Wow,
York.
yeah.
So, and that's off Broadway,
Mm.
technically. Woo woo. So that's really been what I've been focusing on is like getting butts in seats for
Mm.
that. So now that that's wrapping up, my focus is on mostly self-care because I know how exhausting it's going to be,
Mhm.
and I am not always good at not sleeping. So I'm trying to like bank up on sleep, trying to like, I don't know, take vitamins, be
Yeah.
healthy. Um, and just be excited because this
Mm.
is cool. And I'm trying not to get too in my head like it needs to be everything because it won't be
Mm.
everything. It will be what it is.
Totally. So I know we've talked about quite a bit, but how would you describe the show to someone who's not seen it before?
Okay, I would describe Lizzie Sunshine as a farce, as a show that goes wrong.
Okay.
I would say it's very much immediately clear that the audience is just as much a part of the show
Hmm.
as she is. It's a lot of audience call and response participation, and it's a team effort show because it goes wrong. We're all in it together.
Yeah, it's literally like we are all, the audience come to see it. However, in the moment, it's like, right, now we are the tools to help put the show back together. Wow.
Yeah. And I would also describe it a little bit as a catharsis
Hmm.
at the end because the reveal as to why he's not coming, and kind of the reveal and plot twist, he doesn't come. Sometimes people think he might, and he might. The character thinks he will. So I think it's a catharsis at the end to watch this character go through that journey and yeah, how
Yeah.
it ends and coming out
Yeah.
the other side.
So we are coming to the end of my questions, but I do have a few more. So where can people stay up to date with you and where can they get tickets?
Yes, please follow me at Liz Coin.
Hmm.
That's my name, at Liz Coin, just as it sounds. And you can get tickets through the link in my bio or through the Gilded Balloons website or at Ed Fringe's website as well. The show is called Lizzie Sunshine, and that's Lizzie with a Y, not
Okay.
with an IE.
Okie doke. And so my final question is, what advice do you have for young creatives looking into get into the industry?
Oh, give me an email and I'll give you. No, young creatives looking to get into this industry, write. Just
Hmm.
start writing. Get a journal. I'm looking at like four of them on my table over here. Get a journal and write every morning when you wake up. Doesn't matter how long, just a little bit. Right before you go to bed. Right after you see a movie and you thought it was really good. Right when you hear your favorite song. Right when you're mad. Right all the time, and don't expect it to be good what you're writing, just write. And it's your business later will be to sift through it.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So I said at the beginning, but I'll end the same way. Thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I wish you the best of luck for the Fringe. I think you're gonna have a fantastic time. Um,
Yay, thank
I'll
you.
put all the links in the comments below so people can scroll down and click away. But thank you so much, and I shall speak to you soon.
Fab. It was nice to meet you. Thanks for
Nice to meet
having
you.
me.
Bye.
Bye.